Well, kia ora everyone, and welcome to the ACE RMO 2026 Southland Hospital webinar. My name is Sam and I am the ACE RMO consultant. Today we're going to start off with an opening karakia, and then I will give everyone a brief outline of what you can look forward to this evening.
Whakatakateo ki te uru, whakatakateo ki te tonga, kia mama, kina ki ta, kia ma taratara ki tai. E hia, kia ra, te atakura, he tio, he huka, he hohu, tihe mauri ora.
Just a big thank you to our panelists for being here this evening and for everyone being able to join online. It's really, really great to have you here. Before we move into our panelist introductions, I will give you a brief outline of how the webinar will work this afternoon. So our panelists will take you through a presentation covering off some really key information about their district and opportunities that are available. And you will also be able to hear directly from district representatives and RMOs who will share their experiences working at the hospital and also what you can maybe expect on a day-to-day. Towards the end of the session, there will be an opportunity to ask questions. And then we'll close off with a closing karakia. So just a reminder to our attendees, although we can't see you, you do have the option to post questions in the Q&A box or the chat box above your screen. You can do this throughout the webinar, but just to note, we will take a moment towards the end to answer those with you. I also just wanted to say that this is really a great opportunity for you to ask those burning questions and also have them answered on the spot. I will hand over to our panelists to introduce themselves.
Thanks, Sam, and hi everybody that we can't see but are connected online. I'm Marlene Griffin. I'm the District RMO Unit Manager. I'm based in Dunedin Hospital, but the RMO unit is one team across the district as opposed to Dunedin and Southland. So I've been in this district role for about a year. Thanks for joining us, but we'll continue the introductions for now. Also put in an apology for Dr. Catherine Forward, who's the Medical Director for Pre-Vocational Educational Training. She's on leave, so not able to join today, so an apology from her. Next to me is...
Kia ora, I'm Lisa Marie. I'm an RMO advisor here based in the Invercargill unit. I've only been here for a short time, and whilst I'm new to the RMO unit, I have lived in Southland, born and bred here for many years.
I'm Anthony Butto. I'm an ED specialist, the clinical director, and I'm a pre-vocational supervisor.
Kia ora, I'm Lucy. I'm a second year house officer down in Invercargill, currently on my LNG placement.
Ryan Paganelli, I'm an ED specialist as well, and also a pre-vocational educational supervisor with AIM.
Great, thank you. And just wanted to say it really is a great opportunity to hear from you all today. So thank you. I know time and capacity is really precious. So this information being shared is really valuable with our attendees.
Thank you. Well, that first slide is a picture of the wonderful Southland Hospital site, which is relatively modern. And in the words, it did say that it's a modern facility on that. And just looking at that, the helicopter pads to the right. So it's a relatively modern building. So it's a secondary level based hospital. There's lots of information online for if you wanted further information about what Southland's hospital services include. But it's got some information there in terms of the population and the number of attendances and things. That's on average, and it has changed over the year. We haven't had a chance to go back to those numbers to get more exact. In a discussion that we're having just before we went online, we suspect that particularly the ED has increased quite significantly from that. But some of the key points particularly for joining the Southland Hospital team, it's got clinically challenging and focused training. We quite often hear about the importance of work-life balance, and I think in the next slide it talks about the opportunities that Southland has. But it's got, as a secondary level hospital service, there is still a broad range of services. A bit more limited in your first year as a PGY1. It sort of there's more opportunities once you get into your PGY2 and beyond year. These are the key points, but there's lots of really valid points for choosing Southland over any other hospital.
We see about the same volume as Dunedin Hospital, but they have more specialists than we do. They have neurosurgery, ENT. And what that means for us is that we get to manage a lot more of those conditions on our own. So in terms of training, I think it makes us a very valuable site.
I was just also going to reference a wee bit about the actual hospital, the site and the layout. It's quite cool in the fact that it's an easy place to find your way around. It makes it easier to get to know your fellow staff members, team members, and also to get to know your patients, making it a bit more personalised.
Free parking.
Free parking, yes. But they are all things that count in your daily lifestyle. So as I mentioned before that I was a born and bred Southlander, in the text there you'll see some of the points that have been covered off. But whilst a lot of your job will be indoors, the outdoors opportunity for once you're done with your workday are huge down here. So there's skiing. I think there's 3 ski fields within sort of 3.5 hours. You could be on the ski field if you finished work at 4:30. And we've got Coronet Peak, Cadrona, Remarkables. Beaches, we've got Ariti Beach, which is just 10 minutes away. Riverton's got a beautiful beach, Collett Bay. So if you're into surfing or just general beaches, we've got plenty to choose from. Mountain bike tracks and trails. There's been quite a bit of investment in cycle trails down here as well, which is becoming popular. And national parks on our back doorstep. So there's so much. And you've been here for 7 years. What would you say is some of the best parts?
The ocean. I like the fishing, the diving, surfing, and just the variety. The coastline faces lots of different ways, so there's always a sheltered spot. Yeah, I'm pretty obsessed with the ocean. If you got a good wetsuit, it's not a problem being cold.
What about you, Ryan? How long have you been here for?
4 years. I really like the people here. I really like almost every single one of my patients. Like we end up joking with them and they're just almost friends. So it's there's wonderful sturdy farmers in Invercargill and the surrounding areas, and they're great people to have as patients. They tend to sit really long on their diagnoses. You know, their major traumas that wait at home for 3 days, their heart attacks that hiked all the way out from a big hiking trip or something like that. And so really fascinating pathology, but in really, really good people.
About the health officer role. So as I said before, the focus of PGY1 and 2 is to get that broad experience across medicine and surgical. So as you'll see from the runs that are listed, as a PGY1, it's quite limited. So you would generally have a mix of medicine and surgical, and we would touch base with you to say, would you prefer to start in medicine or surgical? Because you need to have that balance, but you can sometimes get the choice as to whether you start in medicine or surgery. So not that many options as a PGY1, but certainly as you can see from the list, once you're a PGY2, then there's those other roles that are PGY2 and above. Some of those, as you'll note from the slide, is at the 6-month placements.
So the focus of PGY1 is getting your provisional registration into general registration, and then there'll be a preference for people who know what specialty they want to do to train in that area. If they wanted to start training in ED, they'd do ED for 6 months in the second year, essentially. The
house officer roster is a templated roster, and so the things that are noted there are consistent across the whole of Health New Zealand in terms of SECA requirements. As a PGY1, you don't work nights for the first 6 months. For the Southland roster, generally rostered to across 3 weekends per quarter and 1 long day per week. And as I say, that's templated. More than happy to accommodate swaps if they make sense, but it's up to the individuals to arrange the swap with their colleague and then notifying the RMO unit, and we will give a final approval. We wouldn't be so supportive if something didn't make sense of doing 2 long days consecutive and then you're about to go into nights. We would suggest that you perhaps touch base with another doctor to swap. The protected teachings down at Southland, they're the days that it is held on a Wednesday and a Thursday, 1 till 2. So that's protected. Traces get handed in if you choose to hand them into the RMO unit. The RMO unit here are here to support house officers in any way we can. So it's about keeping that communication open. If you've got something really important on, like getting married or something like that, the sooner that we know about it, we can try and build it into rosters, because there's always exceptions and unplanned things. So really keen for you to pop into the office so we can look at things together and come to some arrangement, because we want to support as much as we can. The other important thing to remember for rosters is that medical council requirements is the minimum of 10 weeks out of a quarter that need to be worked. So that's about planning your leave to ensure that you meet that threshold of 10 weeks, because you need that to pass. But it's also really important to plan your leave per quarter and for the year to ensure that you get a decent break within each quarter for rest and relaxation. The earlier you get requests in, the more chance you have of success of getting that leave approved. The key thing for us is actually pop in or send us an email or whatever form of communication you want to use, but it is much easier to communicate about it rather than emails backwards and forwards, can't do this, can't do that, because we don't want to say no, but naturally at times we do have to.
That's the reason why I'm here. Well, rosters are, we reference them as being templated. We still want to work with you. So just come and talk to us. We want to be flexible. And as we say, we want to help you to make those special occasions while you've been working hard.
So there's plenty of college accredited training time in those specialties on the right-hand side, anaesthetics, medicine, surgery, ED. It varies depending on the specialty. ED is accredited for 2 years. Do you know what OG is, Liz? Most are a year or two. And what we find is people come here as a house officer, they step up maybe in the second half of their PGY. They'll either stay on for a PGY 3 year as a housey or step up into a reg role. And their intention to move to Southland for a year or two becomes 3 or 4 because they'll join a training program and hopefully sit their exams. So we actively encourage house officers in their second year, if they're interested in a specialty, to approach the unit or the clinical director and ask to be placed in that specialty. And the RMO unit's very supportive of trying to find time to get the leave, and so people can pursue courses such as the surgical sciences course, the exams, the OG diploma. And across there it also says, so we work closely with the rural hospital training and people interested in doing primary care, GP work. We do see people sort of come and go from the community.
Your first week, so we do have to, it's really important that you remember that the training year starts on 18th of January, so that's the Q1 roster, but you need to be available from the week prior. So sometimes we run into problems where people are thinking that they're starting on the 18th and they're not available for the orientation. So it's a full week and it's pretty intensive, it's pretty full on because there's so many mandatory things that need to be covered in that week. You've got your IT training, you've got your health, heaps of things. Enough that it's full on for 4 days of different presenters. But there is the last day and sometimes the afternoon of the 4th day where you're buddied up with the current house officer on the ward so that you have a little bit of an introduction of what it's going to be like on day one on the 18th when you were actually on the service. But PGY 2s and registrars are very mindful, because I've been there, done that, are very supportive when it's your first day on the job as a new PGY 1. Things will take longer as you come to terms with things. So that's recognised by your colleagues from PGY 2s right up to the consultants, because it can be quite daunting. But again, we're here to help. So are the PESs, the medical director and things, because it is, in my experience, some people really struggle. It's your first job, and for some people it is their first job. They haven't worked at shops and done lots of other things. So having to work to a timetable where you do have to be here on time and time management and all those sorts of things, it can be a big adjustment, and some people really struggle with that. So we're always here to help. If that's the message I can get across, use us. That's what we're here for. So remember that you're actually starting work on the 11th of January. That first week is orientation, and then hitting the floor running on Monday the 18th.
Older doctors and things do look out for you, which is obviously really important. It's cool being in a small hospital because you get to know the nurses really well as well. So all the charge nurses, senior nurses, junior nurses on the ward, you work so closely with them every day that you know them personally, you become really good friends with them. So they look out for you as well. So first week, they'll get reminded that it's your first week of work. Take it easy on the house officers, no idea what they're doing. So they all look out for us as well, and are super helpful. We'll show you where to go, we'll show you how to do things. I think the hardest part of the first week isn't actually the medicine, it's the logistics of how do I actually do my job and how do I use the computer and get logins. And the nurses are incredibly valuable, and the charge nurses will make your life 10 times easier if you are nice to them. So charge nurses are your best friends.
I guess it's the benefit of a smaller hospital,
Yeah.
isn't it? It is more intimate, doesn't sound quite like the right word, but you know what I mean, yeah. You get to know
I'm friends with
everybody.
everyone,
Yeah.
including nurses, physios, OTs, get to know everyone really personally. And I walk through the hallway, I'm like, oh geez, I'm sort of down at the other end of the hospital, don't see many people, but I walk through the hallway to the cafeteria and have charge nurses, OTs, physios, everyone saying hi to me in the hallway, which is an awesome feeling in a small hospital.
There's lots of support. Part of it is us being a small place. You know, we're not having a bunch of people working part-time. There's sort of a core team that works at this hospital. And there's, you know, our core is as a teaching hospital. So we love having junior docs. We love training them up. So all the docs that are working here are well versed in it and very supportive. And then you can kind of pick and choose on the service you're in with who you want your mentor to be. And of course, Anthony and I and Mavis are pre-vocational educational supervisors. And so we can be another voice as in the RMO office. So there's always somebody to turn to if you have a question or concern. Maybe it's going to be different people depending on what the question or concern is. But there's always going to be somebody that's helpful and looking out for you to succeed.
Tuakana Tina program is unique Southern initiative, although I think it's rolled out to other regions, where it's like a mentoring program where you have the Tuakana is the elder and the Tina is the younger. So it's about, and these people put their hand up as mentor is probably the best way to describe it. Everybody gets name badges, and there's a koru symbol on some name badges, so you can easily identify someone that has put their hand up to be a mentor. So you could approach anyone with any issue. It can be personal. It's a non-judgmental program. So that's something that is unique to Southern, and I think it's been well supported. So you've got to be a PGY2 to be one, but as a PGY1, if you see someone with the symbol, then you know that that's an identified person that you can approach in addition to all those other things that are listed. And the employee assistance, that should be, program is, our new provider is TELUS, TULUS, but we can guide you on that if we're needing to access that program. And there's plenty of flyers, and part of orientation, you'll get that information. And the Speak Up is a organisational program where we encourage people to exactly that, to speak up. If you've got concerns, then don't hesitate to use any of those people above rather than not speaking up. We want to encourage people to provide feedback about issues or behaviours, a whole raft of things. So you can confidentially have discussions with any of those to bring your concern to somebody's attention. And then there's processes behind that about how that gets managed. We can't fix what we don't know. So we want to know about any struggles, any problems, because as I say, we can't fix what we don't know.
So some other reasons that you might want to move down here, there's some hospital holiday homes in Queenstown, Arrowtown and Te Anau that essentially like Airbnbs, but a little bit cheaper, and you can go in with your friends or other staff members if you want to and rent those. We're obviously pretty close to Queenstown. It's 2 hours away. Gore's an hour away if you're interested in going to Gore.
Good fishing there.
There's
Ice skating rink.
the Catlins is an hour away, and the Fiordlands is an hour and a half away in the other direction. So really close to some really amazing places. In terms of at work, we've got the rather new sim centre. So we do in situ sims in the ED department regularly every Thursday morning, but there's also the registrar teaching sims and ACLS core sims over there. Alongside the sim centre, there's a bunch of education rooms and a library, so you can study on site if you want to. We have the standard teaching program as per the Medical Council. On a Wednesday, Thursday, you get 2 hours protected time, but a lot of departments do their own teaching. The ED does house officer teaching every single day at 5 p.m, which Ryan and I are currently missing to be here. And we have 4 hours.
There's somebody else doing it though.
There's someone else doing it. It happens every day, and we have 4 hours protected reg teaching every Thursday. I'm not sure about the other services, but it is really pretty extensive. It's SMO led, really good exposure.
And it's protected too. It's a busy day, everything's falling apart. That's still, it's our highest priority is teaching.
Yeah, always happens. As Ryan mentioned earlier, you have really good exposure. We don't have ENT, neurosurgery or cardio down here, so you're often dealing with these patients for the first few hours and either transferring them out or dealing with them and admitting them and getting telephone advice as to how to look after them. So it's really good. And as I can't echo enough actually what Ryan said about the patients. Patients are just the loveliest, easiest people in the world, really. They they've all got a heart of gold, really, and they're really loving and appreciative. So if that's not enough for you, then I don't know what else I can really say.
In regards to, the lack of super specialties here, we're a big hospital that doesn't have that. And so that echoes not just for the emergency department, but also for medical and surgical. Their scope expands. So if you're doing a general surgery rotation, you might be doing more different types of surgeries. Medicine, you're going to be having many more of these people stay on your team. I think this is the best place to learn. It's like a regional, like middle-sized hospital, and I think it's the best place to practice. I think it's real medicine.
I think in terms of talking about PGY1 runs being quite limited, I think it's actually a good thing that they're reasonably limited. So I did general surgery, medicine and orthopedics as my first year. And while you're, on gen surg for 3 months, it means that you get to know your team really well, the registrars really well, the nurses all on the ward. And then, if you're on general surgery in a bigger centre, lots of things go to subspecialties, whereas here I've been looking after an appendicitis, then a cholecystitis, then some of the bowel perforation or a trauma, or you get everything surgical under your team, regardless of what team you're on. Same for medicine, you could have a brain bleed, a pneumonia, who knows, you could have anything medical on your team. You could be, sounds terrifying, but you could be the first person going to a stroke call on the ward, which sounds terrifying at the moment, but you get lots of hands-on exposure and you see such a massive range of conditions because there's not all those subspecialties snapping them up from ED.
Well, after hearing all of that, you're all going to be itching to get the application because it sounds, hearing from different perspectives on the panel, it sounds like a great place to work as Dunedin based, but the opportunities that you've been talking about, each of you, you've got to be wanting to apply people. So it's really important that when you're putting in your application that you check the grammar, make sure you're clear about why you're ranking Southland, whether it be family connections or for whatever else, or after hearing about what's on offer, and to choose your referees carefully. I know Ace already gave a presentation about the application process, so you've probably heard this all already, but it's just, a cover letter is really important because that's what the panel that are ranking the applications, that's all we've got to go from is the information that you're provided, even though there's an algorithm and rankings and things that go with it. If you're wanting a delayed start, that needs to be really clear on your application that for whatever reason you're wanting to start Q2 or Q3, or if there's anything, if you're going to be on parental leave or whatever else during that, because remember that the job offers, the applications close 3rd of July and the job offers go out on the 31st of August. So there's quite a big gap between when you're starting. So if anything changes from when you put your application in, just touch base with the unit, either before the job offer letters go out or as in the job before.
So I've got the big job of selling, being a house officer in Invercargill. And full disclosure, Invercargill was not one of my top picks to come. I was very nervous to come to Invercargill, but if I could go back now and change it, I would come here in a heartbeat. I've absolutely loved being here. You, being in a small hospital, have a bit more responsibility, which is terrifying at the start, but you learn very quickly. But equally, you actually have a lot more support because you know your registrars really well, the nurses, consultants. I think everyone obviously in the same boat of being a small hospital. You all look out for each other, all help each other out. PESs are great.
Yes, let's say that.
Pre-vocation. Yes, I'm not a supervisor. But in all honesty, I feel like I could go to Ant and talk about anything, mostly.
You do.
Yeah, I do. Haven't cried in his office yet, so that's good. I'm winning on that one. But yeah, being in a small hospital, you have so many opportunities to upskill as much as you want, depending on the specialty. You could be helping the med-reg put in chest drains. It could be a miners clinic. I went to miners a couple of times as a first year and helped cut out skin cancers and got the registrar to be my assistant rather than the other way around. So I did the whole procedure. In ED, you obviously can do an ED run, but on Gen Surg and Gen Med and Ortho, you have the opportunity to go down to ED, admit patients, see patients, work them up, talk to your registrar, go to theatre if you have the time. I think that's the cool thing about being in a small hospital is your friends become friends with all the health officers. Your friends will hold your page for you so you can get to theatre and see a cool case. And, you know, I'm on O&G now. I'm crazy that I can say this, but I'm delivering babies on my own without a consultant. It's the second year, which is absolutely terrifying, but so cool. And I know the consultants are just a call away. One of them sleeps in a caravan in the car park when she's on call, so that she's right there if something happens. So you've got pretty cool support down here from your registrars and your consultants. A lot of consultants are first name basis, which is pretty cool. Not like that in some of the big hospitals. And you're very close to lots of cool things. So been to Stewart Island twice. One of my friends went to Queenstown skiing 8 times last year. Fiordland, Catlin's got a rooftop tent, which has been a great investment for camping, lots of cool places. In terms of a day in the life as a health officer can vary depending on what run you're on. It can either be a 7:30 start or an 8 a.m. start and goes until everyone, unless you're on long day, finishes the workday at 4 p.m. Obviously do your typical ward round, ward jobs and things, but everyone's looking out for each other. You could have a really busy day where you completely run off your feet, but someone will come up and say, oh, do you have any discharge summaries I can do for you because I'm not doing anything, or head to theatre, lots of cool teaching opportunities, go through the sim centre, and we've got one of those mannequins that talks and coughs and pretends to vomit and things, so get to run lots of cool sim sessions over there, which is really good learning. And it's sort of, you get out what you put in, which sounds very corny, and it's sort of the typical thing that everyone says, but if you make the most of the opportunities you have down here, you'll absolutely love it regardless. I think if you show up, you show you're interested, you want to learn, then people will absolutely run with that, get you really involved, get you doing sort of as many things as you want.
Hopefully we've told you a little bit more about why you should come to Southland, make an application. So yeah, but please feel free to informally reach out now. We've got the email address up there, my RMO cell phone's there. Please jot it down if you want to send a text to make a time to set up a call. Just doesn't matter if it's just a wee question about the province or anything like that. We talk about the hospital being a great size for opportunities and being personalised, but our town of 50,000, the region servicing 108,000, we're quite small connections. So someone will know someone that might be able to help you with your inquiry in passing. And it really is helpful. So if you've got a special hobby or an interest or something, please just reach out before you make that application. We'd be happy to help you with that.
Great pub quizzes in Invercargill as well.
Jingo nights. Have you ever been to a jingo night? It's musical bingo. Always fundraisers for community, and they're so much fun.
I find them stressful.
I would find your job stressful. Big focus on food and drink.
That's a nice view. I just wanted to say again, thank you. That was really informative. You might have even convinced me to think of a relocation. So one of the first questions that we got is, what options are available for community runs?
Currently, you either go to Gore, Lucy, Queenstown.
Yep.
And hospice has been a little bit intermittent due to a change in specialist cover. So we're also looking at hopefully finally getting up the St. John's run in the next sort of 6 to 12 months. So at the moment, it's primarily you do a GP placement in the Gore Medical Centre, or you go to Queenstown Lakes area, which is pretty popular.
I think our best one is Gore.
Gore's
It's a bit of a trip, but they
unbelievably popular
Yeah.
for some reason.
the team up there, the team of docs loves having juniors, and so they just teach everything they can, and they say keep sending me more. We can take double, send 3, send 4.
Great.
Over the time that
Thank you so
PGY one starts in 2027, it's likely to be more. You say St. John's has sort of been on the radar. Hospice maybe be coming back on board. Plus there's the new training pathway, primary care training path. So that's more community based, but we're only in the early stages of that, which is quite separate from the ACE process anyway. Thank
you. I guess while I'm going through, I know you mentioned earlier about free parking. Could we perhaps touch on accommodation? Is it easy to find? Is there any sort of support group?
Yeah, that's a great thing about Invercargill is the cost of living is nothing compared to other places. So I think my rent for a new build is like 160 a week, and it's got an ensuite and a walk-in wardrobe. Do have to share it with my partner, unfortunately, but it's still pretty cheap rent. It is, yeah, cheap rent.
It's pretty easy to find
Yeah.
a place, and there's quite a few staff that own rental homes as well, so there'll be a group renting it as they move on. Sort of the new PGY 1s or 2s will take it over, which is quite handy if you own rentals.
I'm not sure how they communicate with each other, but it does seem.
Yeah, well, the other day, we'll remember someone started in the ED, and I just said out loud, "Has anyone got a spare bedroom?" That was it. Someone just put their hand up.
Yeah.
They moved in like a week later. So it's I mean, it's super easy to get around. Everything's 5-10 minutes away, and it's all flat. So people bring their own vehicles, but you can bike around if you have a good rain jacket.
Everyone helps each other out for finding accommodation. Lots of people end up buying houses because it's not that expensive to buy a house in Invercargill.
Yeah, it's a great place to sort of get on the property ladder. We do have staff accommodation, but I wouldn't for sort of set circumstances we use for the TIs and things, but it's not a really good long-term option for people because you just for that work-life balance, you want to live away from work. But yeah, if people are desperate, we can sort that. I can answer that next question if you like. The runs off to lakes.
Yep.
So they are different, but we have close connection with lakes. So primarily people who are doing ED and rural training, they're the ones who want to work in lakes. And so we'll often get them rotate and doing our ED. Part of ED, we have a training run in anaesthetics as well. So it's super popular. Yeah, it is a different hospital. So it's not, so we just negotiate swaps with them essentially.
But one person every quarter from second year does go to Queenstown and sort of work on the wards in an ED as part of their community run.
I hope that makes sense. So in PGY 2, it's community run that you'll rotate through, and PGY 3 for registrar years, whatever you can rotate there 6-12 months as part of your training.
Would there be any advice for our attendees that are going to be applying in the ACE application, or anything that you wanted to think that you wish you had known before you started your PGY1 role?
I think in terms of ACE applications and deciding where you want to go, I really love the idea of going somewhere small, but I was terrified to step outside of my comfort zone. And so I'm really glad that I had the push to go somewhere small. And everyone said it to me in TI and fifth year, go somewhere small, but I was absolutely terrified. And I'm reiterating what they said to me is I absolutely would recommend going to a small hospital. I think I'm so much more competent than I would be in a bigger hospital. I think in big hospitals, you're a small fish in a big pond, and it's very easy to get lost and just end up doing paperwork the whole time, which obviously a lot of house officer job is doing discharge summaries and things, but there's lots of opportunities here to get your hands in, do procedures, compared to a big hospital where you have a SHO, a junior registrar, 3 training registrars above you, all fighting for opportunities. So down here, you're actually needed to be a doctor, which sounds silly when you're becoming a doctor, but you need to be a doctor down here, and it means you get a lot more opportunities and get to sort of upskill and get as involved as you like, really.
I think just to echo what Marlene said, super important with your cover letter, just take the time to actually change the hospital name you're applying for and write something specific. Don't get the robot to write it. I'm sick of reading ChatGPT stuff. So just even if it's 2 lines, I'm wondering, I've never been there. Seems like a cool place. Write something open and honest. But if you really want to come as well, reach out and find out. There's 1,000 people down here to talk to you. You could ring the hospital and just say, page your house officer and get a true version of events, not just reach out, because if you're really interested, we can talk you through it, we can prioritize you. We know that everyone puts applications for multiple places, but it's good to gauge we just want to know who honestly wants to come, and we'll prioritize those people if they're the good applicants, because we do have multiple applicants for the 11 positions. So
we had 140 last year.
140 for 10 positions.
We do record the names of those that have touched base with us. And it's nice to put a face to a name, and not everyone can pop in, but we do keep a record of those that have reached out to us.
If you can come visit, I know it's hard when you're applying for lots of different hospitals, but if you can come visit, lots of us house officers will be very happy to show you around, and it sort of makes you known to the RMO unit, which never hurts.
At the end of the day, you only are going to experience, you just got to rotate, go through somewhere else. I was stuck in Auckland for 33 years and did every single run in Auckland and never thought I'd come here, and now I'm stuck here because I love it. So just use it. It's a good year if you don't have children or family to shift around. It's so easy to just go somewhere and experience somewhere different. Even if you have children, it's an easy place to raise kids. So I just recommend doing something different. If it's not here, do one of the regions. The regions are great.
It is a great place to have kids, really safe, tons of activities, fantastic.
I planned on coming for a year and then leaving straight away, but I'm probably going to stay for 3 now at least. I'm only 4 months into PGY2 and I'm already thinking about stepping up to a registrar role next year, which is again terrifying. Everything's slightly terrifying, but it's also awesome and really exciting, and yeah, you get great support and yeah, get to learn lots in a small place.
Awesome. Well, I cannot think of a better way to end off tonight's session. So just for our attendees that are online, if you do have any further questions or you do want to make contact in terms of arranging those chats or phone conversations or the visits, if you are able to, the details are available on our ACE RMO website under the employer information section. And if you have any questions with regards to your application process at all, please reach out to me at any time. I'm here to help and support you through what feels like a stressful and very daunting experience. But if you do get stuck or you do have any queries or anything that you need to clarify, just get in touch with me and hopefully we can smooth that process out for you. So again, a huge thank you for those that attended, and again for our panelists. It's really been such an enjoyable webinar and so much information that's been shared tonight. So thank you. I am now going to close off with a karakia.
Kia ora, te marino, kia whakapapapaunamu te moana, he huarahi mātou i te rangi nei, aroha atu, aroha amai, tātou i a tātou katoa, hui e taiki.
Thank you. I hope everyone has a really lovely evening tonight, and thanks again. I'll see you all soon.
Thanks, Ed.
Bye.